Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Slasher Street Podcast, and I am delighted to be joined by a very, very special guest right now. He is the writer and director of the upcoming horror flick Depravity, and that is Mr. Scott King. So, Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, and how are you doing?
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm good, man. I'm good.
Awesome. Been looking forward to this all day. And if people are wondering why I'm a little bit out of breath, is because I've been running to get this all set up because I was half an hour late. Didn't realize the clocks will turn back in North Carolina where you are. So that was a nice surprise. But anyway, we're here now, so let's get cracking. So before we get into Depravity and before we get into your career and all that kind of great stuff, we'll start at the very beginning. So have you always been a fan of horror movies?
Yes. Ever since I was a kid, I started out watching like Goosebumps and Scooby-Doo, and that kind of led me into more of the horror movies. And then we would always go to the video store as a kid, and it was just walking down the aisle, and we were able to get one movie. So my brother and I, my youngest brother, we would always walk down there and like pick the coolest cover, it seemed like, and it just kind of transpired into, me wanting to do this as a career. And I've always been into horror.
Awesome. That's kind of the same with me, actually. Goosebumps, Are
Yeah.
You Afraid of the Dark? All that great stuff. I've got the Goosebumps box set here, and my daughter's 3, so I think I remember I was like 5 or 6 when I started watching Goosebumps on Fox Kids. It was back in the day, and I
Yeah.
can't wait to show her that box set because like they just don't show them anymore. It's
Yeah.
just a
No,
shame.
the show used to be on Netflix. I don't know if it is anymore, but I'd started, kind of going through them again and was like, it's, just a nostalgia trip.
Really is. It's like super, super nice. I think in the UK, season 1 was on Netflix for a little while. I don't know if it is anymore, but it was only like season 1. Whereas, like, thankfully, I've got like the whole box set, so it's just
Yeah.
awesome. Love Goosebumps. So, do you have any like personal favorite horror movies from back in the day, or even to now? Do you have any favorites that you
Well,
always watch?
I really like the 2003 Wrong Turn. I that After I watched that movie, that was kind of like my initial start to like, okay, like horror is my thing. I don't know. I really loved the Wrong Turn movie, and then before that, I watched like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Jeepers Creepers, but now I really appreciate the older stuff from like the 70s and 80s. So Toby Hooper's Chainsaw Massacre is probably my favorite horror movie. Um and then I really like a lot of Rob Zombie's work, Eli Roth's work, Adam Green. So anything that those guys do, I'm pretty much all over it. Um But yeah, I'd have to say like Chainsaw Massacre would probably be like my favorite horror movie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good one. I mean, it's still one of the best of all time.
Yeah,
It's what like coming up to 50 years old next year, which is
yeah,
insane.
yeah, and it still holds up. Like it's just I don't know. It's almost a perfect movie.
Yeah, totally. When I think of like 50 years ago, I would think like Mary Poppins,
Hmm.
like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
But Chainsaw Massacre, you could release Chainsaw Massacre tomorrow, and it would still that exact
yeah,
same movie would hold up. Put that movie out in the public domain, people would lose their shit. Like in today's world,
yeah.
it's ridiculous. So I was going to say, so how did you transition from being, I suppose, like a horror fan, going into like the movie making business? Like, so because you're an actor as well, you obviously are a writer and director
Yeah.
and an actor. So how did you get into that kind of side of things?
So growing up and after like really finding out that I I just really loved film in general, and it just so happened to be like horror was the genre that really like caught my attention. Um, but I don't know. I kind of just always wanted to do film and anything that involved film because I just love the process of it. Like I would pop in special features and just watch behind the scenes and just looked just amazing. So so I started out acting. Um, I did a couple of short films, and then as a teenager, I would grab my like brother and my friends and stuff, and we would just shoot these little terrible short films. Um, but so I had actually had a script written for a film that I wanted to do, and I had casted Destiny Orndorff, who I worked with on Red Eye prior, and then she announced that her and Tristan were going to do Red Eye, and I auditioned for that one, and I got the part, and then that was kind of the foot in the door, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So we're gonna talk about Red Eye, so we might as well transition into that. So obviously, Red Eye, I think, came out 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yes, yeah,
2018
it came out in 2017,
or
I think. So
2017.
we shot it in 2016, I think. It was
Yeah.
20,
So
yeah, something like that.
how did you get? So obviously, you said that you auditioned for that. What was the process in terms of? Because I think was that your first kind of big, I suppose, break into film. So how did you get involved with Red Eye and get the part, and then kind of go from there?
So I was already kind of connected with Destiny. She was another actress, and she she knew the uh the director, and they basically just hosted casting calls, and I auditioned for two of the characters, and they really liked the way that I did both of them, so they kind of let me choose which character I felt more, you know. So I told them, and that was kind of that. I just did a little video audition and sent it to them, and they were like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So what
So
drew you to the Gage character then? Because you said you had the choice to do that.
yeah.
I haven't seen the film. I'm not an actor, but if I was an actor and I wanted to be in Red Eye, I would want to play the character that you played, Gage, because obviously the film came out like 5 years ago, so I suppose
Mhm.
we can kind of talk a bit of spoilers about it. But obviously,
Yeah,
if folk
yeah.
out there haven't seen the film, go and check it out. It's what we're probably going to spoil it a little bit here, but obviously there's a big twist where you play essentially the same one character, but he has two very different personalities that we see in the film, and obviously there's a big
Mhm.
twist at the end. So, what was it that kind of drew you to the Gage character?
Well, it was kind of that aspect, really. I kind of wanted to play the two-sided bad guy. Um, and the character was making, a documentary based around, horror films and killers and stuff. So I was like, well, that that would be perfect. Um, and then so I didn't actually know Gage was a bad guy until I told them that that's the character I wanted to be. Um, so when I got the script and I read it and found out that, I was a bad guy, it was just even I'm like, perfect. I picked the perfect one because
Yeah.
I don't know, it was just the idea of it is fun to kind of just, you know, get into a role and kind of play those kind of characters.
Yeah. Was that difficult in terms of kind of planning for that character? Because you kind of have to play it relatively straight for the first kind of hour or so of the
Yeah.
film, where you're the good guy. You are genuine. If you've seen the film for the first time, you would think that Gage was the final boy, really, in terms of how
Mhm.
he's getting built up. And really, out of the four main characters, he's probably the most likable character of the whole film. And then
Yeah.
it kind of takes a bit of a different sense. So was that kind of a challenge to kind of try and get those
Um,
two sides together?
I mean, to a certain extent, because so like when all of us when we weren't filming our scenes, we were, friends essentially. We were, cracking on each other, and so off camera we were, ourselves, just hanging out and having a great time. So it did kind of make it a little harder, in that aspect of like, well, now I have to, be the bad guy. And it wasn't it wasn't all that hard up until, the ending scenes where I'm, like, revealed to be the killer, and, like, I have that scene with Destiny where she's tied up to the tree and everything. That was probably the hardest part, because it's like, you don't really think about what you have to do until you're, 5 minutes away from doing it, and it's like, "Oh, man," like, I didn't really prepare myself for that particular moment, you know? Um, but other than that, no, it was kinda just, you know, it was easy to get into the scenes because of just everybody else, and then it kinda just made it a little easier, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's for anyone out there who hasn't seen Red Eye. It's very, very, very accessible. Actually, it's on Amazon Prime. You can rent it for. I think I saw the other day you could rent it for 99p on Amazon Prime, or at least you can in the UK. I
Yeah,
don't know if it's the same in America, but I think it's actually on YouTube as well. So I think it's on the Kings of Horror channel as well, which is a fairly big channel. Actually, they put a ton of horror films out on there. So you know you can either pay for it or get it on YouTube, but obviously there's ads on YouTube, so take your pick on that one, really. But yeah, go and check out Red Eye, everyone, if you haven't already. Go and see Scott in this role because it's really, really, it's a surprise. It was a very big surprise. Like I was watching it with Mrs. and she went to bed and she was like, "Oh, what happened in that movie?" I was like, you wouldn't guess how this ended.
yeah.
So it was it's even though we kind of have spoiled it there, it's well worth going to check out because the effects in that film again, because that quite difficult, in terms because this was your first role, you're playing the killer. There's tons of practical effects and that going on in this film. How was that kind of working on that kind of side of things as well?
Yeah, well, it was really cool. It was actually amusing to get to watch everything, because when I didn't have any scenes to do, I was watching everybody else do their, blood and gut scenes. So it was cool to watch. But getting covered in the blood is not it's not a fun thing. It's really cold. It's super sticky. Everything you touch, sticks around you. And the blood that we used, I don't know what it was made of, but it was really sweet. So it attracted a lot of bugs and everything. So you have like bugs sticking to you. And yeah, it was not fun. You got to use like cream to scrape it just to get it out, or otherwise you're just walking around like a piece of cotton candy, like it was.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, it was fun. It was a good I really, liked that I had the opportunity to do that because it was a blast.
Awesome, awesome, and it's a very enjoyable film as well. So it's it's that also helps. And
Yeah,
so obviously you've done Red Eye, and then the next step is, I suppose, for yourself would be to make your own movie.
yeah,
You go into the process of making your own movie. So before we get into talking about Depravity, what was it always that you wanted to make a horror movie? Because you got your start in horror movie and Red Eye, you've been a horror fan. So was it always that I'm going to make a movie, it's going to be a horror movie, or was that just kind of something that happened in the process?
yeah, no, it's always been horror. That was that's kinda, the one thing that I wanna stick to. Um, I now, I mean, like, as an actor, I wouldn't mind branching out and doing other things, but as far as, like, making my own stuff, I kinda wanna stick with the horror stuff.
Yeah, that's and it seems to be the way really as well with especially the scene at the moment. The indie horror scene is like really having a boom. I
Yeah,
keep saying it's like right now indie horror is the best I think it's been for years. I mean, you used to get like the odd, few indie horror films that were released and they were really good, but now it seems like just everything is of like such a super high standard, and everyone's like, and I think it's because the actors and the actresses and obviously the movie makers like yourself are just so invested in the
yeah.
genre, and
Well,
I think that
yeah,
helps.
yeah, we love the genre. We appreciate the genre to whereas like a lot of the mainstream stuff is just dollar signs to them. So I think a lot of people that love the genre are really starting to say, well, let's just go and make movies we like and that we want to see, and we know that, you know, the true horror fans are going to be there to support it.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So that leads us nicely into Depravity, which is your new movie, which is to be coming out very soon, hopefully, or to be. We'll get into all that, but so let's talk about Depravity. So, how did the idea of this movie come about? What can we expect? What is Depravity about, basically?
So, Depravity is about two brothers that suddenly lose their father, and they have to come together and, take care of all the arrangements and clean the property and everything. And while doing so, they come across this box of tapes that, once they watch one of the tapes, it kind of unleashes a it unveils a dark side to the town and some of the people. And yeah, so now the brothers have to essentially fight for survival.
Awesome. Now, so is this going to be a slasher film, or is it an anthology film, or is it like
It's a slasher.
it's a slasher?
Yeah, it's a
Awesome,
slasher
awesome.
movie.
And I don't know. Obviously, I don't want you to spoil the movie or anything like that. But on the
Hmm.
poster is awesome. Now, I shared the poster on the Slasher Street Instagram the other day, and it's on your socials as well. The poster is the bit that, when you messaged me, was really eye catching, and I was like, "Oh, this looks awesome!" So, in
Thank
terms of
you.
being a slasher, is the three killers that the three characters that we see on the cover, are they going to be I presume, the main killers of the film?
Yeah, they are. Those are the main villains. And that was that was basically concept work of how I wanted the characters to look and everything. Now, obviously, it's a lot different in the movie, but that is, yeah, those are the bad guys.
Awesome. So, what can you tell us about them? Obviously, without giving too much away,
Yeah.
but kind of what was the inspiration behind them? Because the three very different looking characters.
Hmm.
I think you've got the clown. You've got the kind of the witchy looking
Yeah.
character. Very Halloween 3, that one as well. I did appreciate. I don't know whether that was the goal, but it definitely kind of looks a bit Halloween 3. And you kind of got like a scarecrow looking character as well. So, what was the
Yeah.
inspiration behind these characters and the thought process?
So I just kind of wanted them to be as terrifying as possible, but I wanted the mask to look kind of like something someone could make themselves. Um, because that's kind of the story is like these killers are doing everything themselves. So I just wanted them to feel as real as possible without like making them too perfect, I guess,
Mhm.
if that makes any sense. Um, so when I wrote the artist that did the poster, I just kind of gave him the rundown of what each character looked like, how I wanted them to look, and he went and he did his thing and created the poster for what it is. Um, and that was really that was really it. I mean, I knew that I wanted there to be, a creepy clown. Um, the other guy was, you know, I just wanted him to have just a blank hollow face. And then I wanted there to be just a nasty stitched up face. Um, and that was really how I described the mass.
Awesome. Awesome. I was going to actually say about the poster, and I kind of jumped ahead, a little bit ahead of myself. Obviously, the poster, as we said, is absolutely awesome. It's
Mhm.
on the Slasher Street Instagram, everyone. So if you haven't already, go and check it out, or just go and check out the Depravity Insta and all of the socials. It's all over there. So the key for me as well, I've said this a few times on the podcast, but the key to a really good indie horror film, actually, I usually think is the poster, because
Yeah.
the poster is what gets people through the door. You know, if you've got a shitty poster, people are like, nah, I'm not going to go
Yeah.
and watch that. You know, kind of the To Be Terror Train poster, they're horrendous, awful
Mhm.
posters. You know, they just look like Hallmark kind of posters. And like, but people are watching it for some reason. But to get people through the door, you need a good poster. So, kind of who designed the poster? I presume you were happy with the finished product of the
Oh,
poster as well.
yes, I was once I got the artist sent me a black and white version before he went and colored it, and I was happy with even the black and white version of it because it looked just as cool. Um, but once he, did all the coloring and everything, I was like, how could you not love it? And I've gotten a lot of compliments on the poster. He did such a good job. His name is Scott Jackson. His company is Monster Man Graphics, and I've actually commissioned him a couple of times to do my poster work.
Yeah, and he did an awesome job with this one. It
Yeah,
looks absolutely awesome.
yeah, it is. It's a gorgeous poster.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I say, I do think once kind of everything starts being released, people will see that poster and go, "I
Mhm.
have to see this film." Because even
Yeah,
I saw the poster and I can't wait to see the film because just on the poster, it's like
yeah.
it looks absolutely awesome. So, um, talking about the movie and kind of the process, then. So, um, what was kind of the process for the casting and everything for this? You know, because obviously the film is wrapped. I think is that right?
Yeah, so actually, we go next week and do a couple more, reshoots and pickup scenes, but, uh, the movie is in post-production right now, and, I actually was with my editor, Friday, and we've pretty much secured a final cut, so we're moving along with it, so, uh, almost. It's
Awesome.
almost there.
Perfect. So yeah. So how did you get the cast and everything together? Because is this your directorial
Yeah.
debut in a sense? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this
So
is my first feature film that I'm doing, and,
awesome.
so I created a, casting call and posted that on social media and everything. A couple of people I had actually already had casted, because this thing has I've been trying to get this thing made after I did Red Eye, and, I finally just we actually just shot it last year. So it's taken a few years. So and it's gone through script changes and everything. So I had kept a couple of actors that I had already casted. Um, and the ones that I actually kept didn't even they're not even in the movie. Uh,
Oh,
so I had to so um yeah, so once I released the casting call, I actually got quite a bit of submissions for auditions and everything, and, that's how I really just ended up scoring my cast, and some of the, cast members that I had casted introduced me to other actors that they've worked with and everything, and it kinda just all took form.
yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So and also you ran an Indiegogo campaign for this as
I
well,
did.
which ran. I think I've got it wrote down here. I think it raised just under $5,000, which is actually a pretty solid. Pretty solid amount of money
Yeah.
to raise. But were you happy with how that kind of went down, or?
I was really happy considering, that I had already ran a couple of, Indiegogos trying to get the funds, um, prior and, didn't come even nearly as close as to what I got. Um, so I was really happy with it. My goal was to reach 15,000, I think. 10 or 15,000 was what I was really aiming for. And yeah, I came close to about 6. And then me and my wife, we put in our own money, and we made the film overall with about 10, maybe a little under 10 total.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
And I always respect the hell out of that as well. And it's something that a hell of a lot of indie filmmakers do is obviously put your own money and you put your money where your mouth
yeah,
is and you make this film. So I have a hell of a respect. I have a hell of a respect for anyone who goes out there and even makes a movie,
yeah,
whether
thank
it's,
you.
your own money or not, but even more so when you put your own kind
Yeah,
of cash
yeah,
in. So yeah, is that just like some? I obviously you'll be hoping to get that back at the end of it, but
yeah,
was
yeah.
that just obviously just because you were so passionate about getting the movie made?
Yeah, yeah, it was really just, you know, really just about getting the movie made. And I was so close, um, because the minimum that I wanted was 10K. And we got really close to that. So, that was when I was like, well, I got with all my cast and my crew, and I kind of let them know how production would be, and they understood that, they knew what the budget was. And they were, um, I couldn't have asked for a better cast and crew. They really were the bigger reason why this movie got made. But yeah, I think if doing film is something that you truly, truly want to do, you're gonna have to invest in yourself.
Yeah. That's awesome, and that's something I always say to my missus is that I wouldn't have the bottle to do that, and I just know I wouldn't have the bottle to do that. I'm
Yeah,
such like anything like I would promote gigs and stuff in town, and that's as much of a gamble as I can take. Like
yeah,
like 'cause
yeah.
I can see the end goal there, but yeah, that's like I say, hella respect for doing that, man. It's unbelievable stuff when people kind of get things off the ground. It's so hard to get a film made anyway,
It is
and
really hard. And if I, make a couple bucks, awesome. If not, it's more of the fact that I finally made the movie, and
yeah, yeah.
I would really just want it to lead to more opportunities to continue to make films.
Yeah. Awesome. So, would you like reopen? Are you thinking about reopening an Indiegogo again for like finishing funds, or is that
Nope,
it
that
now?
was it. That was it. We're almost done with it. Um, Everything is pretty much taken care of, and it's really just about coming up with that release date.
Yeah, awesome. So speaking of Indiegogo, though, one of the campaign perks, which is another thing I love seeing, actually, I love seeing this on Indiegogo campaign perks, is where people can kind of donate their money and they can be in the film
Mhm.
and they can be killed in the film, and that is
Yes,
something that you offered in this film, which is awesome. If It's a shame that like more British filmmakers don't do that actually, because any British filmmakers that are out there get that on an Indiegogo
mhm.
campaign perk because I would actually quite like to take you up on that one. It's unfortunately not. I'm not able to fly to America for this kind of thing, but so it's something that's something you did offer in the film, and people took you up on it. So how was that? Did they enjoy their time on
They
set?
did, they did. So we shot the film in Tennessee. A lot of my family live in Tennessee, and I was able to use their property and everything. So the person that bought that perk, we actually shot their scene at my grandma's house, off on this little shed thing they had on the side, and she she got stabbed multiple times. So
Does that make it harder, kind of working? Because I would imagine there'd be like safety protocols that you kind of have to follow when you're doing these things. So was that
mhm.
harder getting, I suppose, a non-trained actor in to do something like that, or?
No, so we all the props that we used were entirely fake. There was there was only one instance in the film where we used a real prop, and that's at the ending, and we had to use a real prop for that one. But all the other stuff was fake. And you know, we uh we told everybody, you know, how we were gonna do things in the beginning, and so one of the actors that that I had was he actually does choreography, so he was able to kind of uh, do everything safely.
Awesome. Perfect. So, what I was going to ask as well, and you don't have to give too much away on this one, obviously, but the podcast is Slasher Street, and kills and gore and stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole meat and potatoes of a slasher film, and all. Especially when I love to watch indie horror films, over the top gore, all that kind of stuff. So,
hmm
what can people expect in terms of that aspect of the film, in terms of the kills and the gore?
So there are about a handful of kills. Um, it's 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 got blood, but it's not entirely gory.
Hmm.
Um, I'm trying to think of a film that I could. Uh, have you seen like The Strangers?
Oh yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of like on that level
Oh, that's still
where
solid.
it's got blood, but it's not a gore fest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So, so in terms of the process and the production, where are we? And so you're saying before that you've got a few extra bits to do this week,
Mhm.
this next week, and then where are we in terms of the journey? Is it going to, when do you think we'll be seeing Depravity out there?
So I'm hoping to have the premiere either late summer or early fall. So we go and do some shoots next week, and then once that's all put together in there, we start tightening up the audio, getting the music put in, running the credits, and any visual effects or anything like that we'll add in there. And then after that, if quality is good, then it's set for release. So I'm hoping that the film will be completely edited and done by June or July. And
Okay.
then from there it will be about um kind of what date would work best to premiere it.
Yeah. So will you be aiming for film festivals, or will you be putting straight onto VOD or Blu-ray or theatrical? What's your
Um
ideal plan there?
so I'm still in the deciding factor. I would love to put it in festivals and everything. Obviously I want, you know, this to uh be everywhere, but I have also considered about just releasing it myself on to Blu-ray and DVD, and just doing a lot of conventions and
Mhm.
advertising it that way and selling copies and stuff. So I'm still deciding how I want to handle it.
Yeah, I mean, that is a solid way of doing it as well. Because I had Justin M. Seaman on the podcast a few weeks
Mhm.
ago, and obviously Scream Team releasing.
Oh
He
yeah, yeah,
goes,
I love
he
that. I
goes,
love his work.
oh, it's incredible, and he's
Yeah,
created this empire really of
yeah,
indie horror, and
yeah.
it's just he goes to convention to convention,
hmm
and I think that again, that's something that I think is lacking here in the UK. When we have horror conventions and it's awesome, but we don't have something like that in any other conventions where people are just selling all the indie horror movies or
Oh
selling
yeah,
any
yeah.
indie horror movies. Like I think that's a real miss. It's something that America seems to have
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's it's a huge help for indie filmmakers to, go and I mean at least to even promote it, it helps tremendously.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, I was going to ask about the shoot as well of the film, because obviously it's your first movie, or
Mhm.
your first, feature anyway. You're not your first movie, but your first directorial feature.
Yeah.
So, how was the shoot? Did it all go to plan, or was there any issues
Well,
along the way?
um I actually ran into a lot of issues. So it was about 3 months until production where the actor that I had for the deputy character, he could no longer commit to the film. Um, so I was like, well, that gives me enough time to find a different actor. But I was like, well, it's a little supporting role and everything. So I actually ended up just jumping into that role. Um, and then it was about a month before production. The guy that I had hired to do the special effects um, overbooked himself, so he couldn't do the special effects. So I hired Angel Bradford. Angel Bradford took his place, and then a week before production, the actress that I had for the lead role contacted me and told me that she could no longer commit to the film.
Oh God.
So at that point, that's when I really started to kind of panic, because a week to recast somebody, especially in an indie film, I mean, it's almost impossible. Um, so I actually ended up having to rewrite 90% of the script because I knew that Angel was an actress as well. And I contacted her and I let her know what was going on. And she was totally cool with, doing both a role and, the special effects. But I only had her for 7 days. She was only available for 7 days. And that's not long enough to get a leading role. Um, so I had to rewrite 90% of the script in order to, fit everything in, because originally it was going to be a brother and sister, not two brothers.
Oh,
So, and then a day before we were set to go to location, a, a guy that was supposed to play my character, David, said that he caught COVID and could no longer make the movie. So, um, so that was a mess. And then when we got to our lodging, the actor that I had to play Clownface actually never showed up.
oh my God.
So I ran into a lot of issues with the cast. So what ended up happening is the guys that play the killers actually play multiple roles, um, and that's fortunate because as the killers, you never see their face.
Yeah.
So they were they were able to do that, and it was just, I don't know. I just got really, really lucky, I guess, because I had purchased all of the wardrobing based upon each, person sizing, and my actor Sean just, I mean, he fit perfectly into this clown face costume. So I was like, well, all right. So yeah, so if you when you're watching the movie and you can tell, everybody's playing multiple roles, that is why.
Yeah.
I had a lot of issues with actors.
Oh God. But you came out the other end with the
Yeah,
film,
yeah, made the
so
movie.
yeah.
We did the best we can, and because of that, we had to cut back on a few things, as far as the effects and gore and stuff like that, because you can only do so much gore when your special effects girl is in a scene. So so yeah, that's but I'm really happy with the overall outcome of the film. We all had a blast making it. We made it the best we could. Um, and the guy that I hired to do the DP, he was basically a one-man crew. So um, when all of us as actors weren't doing scenes, we were helping him, any way that we could, setting up lights and you know just helping him because he was, the budget didn't, extend that far into, bringing on an entire crew and everything like that. So we all had to jump and do multiple roles and multiple things. So, um, but outside of all that, I'm still really happy with the outcome of the film. It looks great.
Yeah. And to be fair, I don't think I've spoken to anyone who has made a horror film or an indie horror film or any kind of film where it's gone smoothly. Like it just
Yeah,
seems to
yeah,
be everyone has,
yep,
these kind of things happen to them. But I suppose that's a testament to having a great crew around
yeah,
you.
yeah. That's it. It was like I said earlier. I couldn't have asked for a better cast and crew. They really reeled it in on this one because it was. And I mean, even the hours we were shooting, it was, we were shooting days and nights and night scenes leading to day scenes. So, we were only getting, 3 to 6 hours of sleep, maybe if we were lucky, until we actually transitioned into all day scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody was happy when we got all the night scenes out because
I bet.
and then you only have actors for a period amount of time, so you have to make sure you get all their scenes. And when they're in night scenes and day scenes, it can be a big mess. So, but that was what coffee and Monster Energy drinks are for.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, everybody lived off of that stuff.
Well, I think that's like day to day life as well for a lot of
Yeah,
people. It's
yeah,
just get you through. Um,
exactly.
how long was the shoot, if you don't mind me asking? So from start to
So
kind of finish.
yeah, so we shot for 2 weeks. So it was scheduled for 2 weeks. We actually ended up finishing 4 days early. So so that was kind of impressive, I guess.
Yeah,
So
definitely, definitely. And how long is the film? Do you think the final cut? Do you think we can expect to see?
so I'm pushing for an hour and 15 minutes.
Mhm.
So it will probably be about that, maybe a few minutes shy
Yeah.
of that.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see it, and I think everyone should definitely check it out. Hopefully in the summer, when we get the release. So after this Depravity kind of journey is over and the film is out, and
Mhm.
everyone's seen it, what's next for you, Scott? In terms of, do you have plans for another film or any more acting jobs coming up, or kind of what's next for you?
So I always keep a lookout for auditions and see what other people are getting themselves into to see what I might be able to squeeze my way onto. But I definitely want to make some more films. I've got a couple that am, I guess I'm currently working on. Um, so yeah, it would just uh, I kind of want to focus more on making films.
Mhm.
But I'm always down to get in front of the camera too. So, but
Yeah,
my main focus will be making more films.
awesome. Do you think we'll see a Depravity too?
No, I don't think so. I kind of wanted to make this one a one and done. I didn't really set it up to have a sequel.
Mhm.
Now I could I can make a prequel. A prequel would work more if I wanted to, but I mean, prequels are always kind of, I think it's better for people to kind of create their own prequel story. Um, but I think Depravity, I'd kind of like to leave it one and done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So everyone out there, when Depravity drops, go and check it out. Hopefully in the summer. I can't wait to check it out. If you haven't already, go and check out the poster because the poster is so fucking eye catching. It's awesome. One last thing just on Depravity, Scott.
Mhm.
When do you think we'll see a trailer or kind of footage of the film? How far away are we from that?
So I'm hoping that a trailer will drop. I'd like to say within the next couple of months. When I was with my editor Friday, we actually discussed a trailer, and he's going to be working on one So hopefully within the next couple of months, we'll get a trailer put out there.
Perfect. Everyone will keep an eye out for that. So that's awesome. So Scott, where can people find you in terms of social media and stuff? How do people keep tabs on you and Depravity?
So my Instagram name is Scott E Fear, and then on Facebook I'm under just Scott King, and then the movie is Depravity the movie at Instagram and on Facebook as well.
Awesome. And I'll be putting the plugs out for that on the Slasher Street podcast Instagram as well. So, just if people are listening and watching this and they're on our Insta, just keep an eye on my posts. I suppose the next couple of days I'll be tagging Scott, tagging the Depravity page on there as well. So just go on there, give those guys a follow. That'll be awesome. So, well, Scott, I think that pretty much wraps up everything that I've got in terms of Depravity for you. We can't. This is the thing, we can't give too much away because we want to keep it as secret as possible, and it's always one of those things. So, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Depravity, and if the post is anything to go by, like I say, it's gonna be.
I'm excited for people to watch and I'm excited to get it out there and finally close the chapter on this one and open up the next one.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's awesome. Well, Scott, thank you so much for going on the podcast. I massively appreciate it. Taking the time out to chat to me, and obviously everyone out there, go and check out Depravity when it drops. Give Scott a support, and like I say, can't wait.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
All right.